Okay, before the actual interview starts, this interview is going to be applying towards a high school teaching job for physical education or strength and conditioning. So that's what this is about.
Hello. Would you like to tell me a little bit about yourself?
So, a little bit about myself. Hi, my name is Ryan. I am applying for this job because it is something that I've always wanted to do in my career. And a little bit about myself. I'm going to college currently right now for human health performance, it's sports exercise, and physical education. At what I'm learning there is more about, instead of the sports exercise, it's more about the physical education side. It is more based on how to teach a classroom of students. I've also having experience in an actual classroom setting, more or less physical education, so PE courses rather than strength and conditioning. But I'm learning strength and conditioning through the work that I'm working at right now, which is I'm working as a physical therapist at this point in my life. And that is not directly correlated to it, but I've also had prior experience for teaching people how to lift weights carefully and making sure that they're doing it right. I used to be a personal trainer, so it is a bit of a one-on-one, but I've been able to, because of my physical therapy job, I am often required to have a wide setting of patients at the same time, so that kind of teaches me that a little bit more about myself. I've been an athletic trainer before at a college level for about a year, so I have first aid knowledge to make sure that all my kids stay safe in the class. Yeah.
What makes you think that you'd be a good teacher?
Uh, what thinks that I would be a good teacher? My mom is actually a teacher, and I've kind of seen a lot of the stuff that she does and how she works with her kids. So I've seen firsthand what it takes to be a good teacher. I've also, a lot of the people that I've looked up to growing up were actually teachers as well too. They were people that were pushing students to be the best of themselves and trying them to make sure that they're working to the best of their ability. I've talked to a lot of teachers and things like that, and they kind of gave me a little, like, a road or path to follow to make sure that I'm doing things right. What I also think that will make me a good teacher is the drive that I want to make sure that this next generation of kids will succeed in what I'm teaching them about, and the mentality that I have to make sure that I won't want to leave a kid behind just because one kid's failing and one kid's doing great. I'm not going to choose one kid over the other. I think every kid needs to be able to grow with their potential, and taking every step of that path to make sure that those kids grow up and do right and work hard and grow that ethic of, like, I want to better myself, not only mentally, but I also want to get better physically. That kind of mentality, I know that I can show off. I'm an energetic person. I love working with people, and I genuinely think that what I have is going to be able to take those kids to the next level in their physical life, but also their mental life as well too.
How do you deal with conflict?
uh, Conflict, I like to work with people in the conflict. So with conflict, is if it's between me and another person, I'd rather not get as many people not involved as possible. I want it to be just between you and me, but if it comes to a case where it's starting to get out of hands just between us two, I'd like to go to our superior about it. So an example is at my job for physical therapy, me and my coworker disagreed on some of the work that we should do with our patients involving a computer. And I was doing the computer one way, and she was doing the computer another way, putting in information and things like that. And we both were in a disagreement for that. And we decided to actually one time sit down when there was no patients in, and it was just us two, and it was low on work, so we could just really focus on seeing how we can come together and actually solve this problem and make sure that everything is good, spick and span, and no clashing things between us. So we compromised in the end of it all. If it's something out of my control, say it's two of my students, I want to make sure that I hear both sides of the story. Because if one student just says, hey, this happened, and this student said, no, this and this happened, I want to make sure I pull both of them aside so they don't interrupt each other. And I want to make sure that I hear both sides clearly and I want to work with them instead of working against them, so to speak. Because if I have both of them together, then there's going to be a conflict of interest there, and they're going to be interrupting each other. And as soon as I figure out both sides of the story, let's bring them together then, and let's see what we can figure out. If it's starting to get to something that's a bit out of my control, then I'm going to want to recommend them to someone who actually can help take care of that. That being the student counselor, that being the principal, that being like that. I want to make sure before that even happens, I want to make sure that I can see if I can solve it first before I send them off to do something else. Because as soon as you send a student to a counselor, a principal, or something like that, that already puts in their head that there's a mentality that they did something wrong. And I want to make sure that even though they might have felt like they did something wrong, I want them to make sure that they feel like that they didn't do anything wrong, everything is fine, and we can move forward together.
What would you say is your greatest weakness, and how do you plan to overcome it in this career?
I think part of my greatest weakness is my focusing. I focus on things very intently. So I kind of get distracted. I won't get distracted by other things, but I see that as a weakness because if you give me a job, I'm going to focus on that one job and then forget that I have a few others. Or if I'm moving in between the two jobs, then I'm going to be like, oh yeah, I have that, and then start focusing on that, forgetting to focus on the other thing. So I think what I need to be able to do about that is I have to be able, I know I can multitask, but what I need to do is I need to actually expand that. I can focus on on something really, really well and get it done super fast, but I need to also understand that that is not the only thing that I have to do. I have to be able to work with multiple people at the same time. And with that aspect in itself, with working with multiple kids or working with multiple patients, I know I have that on lock because of the amount of times that I've done it. With menial tasks, with things like paperwork or computer work, I know that's when I zone in and just want to get something done. And that's where I could feel myself like finding that weakness. So I need to be able to be more aware, spatially aware of what's going on around me because there's going to be a lot of equipment. There's going to be a lot of movement. There's going to be a lot of things that are going on at the same time. And I got to make sure that everyone in the class is safe. So taking steps towards that, making sure that the space that I make is as safe as possible and me being aware at everything at all times has to be done because then if I'm not doing that, that's not a safe space then. So I think multitasking I'm fine with, but focusing a little too much on things that are in front of me is where I struggle with. And I want to make sure that I am going to be able to be prepared for that, especially in this environment. Because I know if I'm walking around the gym and working with the kids, then I know I'll be able to spot anything and everything because I want to make sure everything is safe and perfect. But if I'm sitting at my desk and I'm supposed to be watching the kids at the same time, that's where I'm feeling like I might need to be able to work on that spatial awareness expanding kind of thing. So we can kind of maybe talk about that and then see what how exactly situations are in class kind of thing.
Can you tell me a time where you made a goal for yourself and how you achieved that goal?
Probably the best example of it is not actually at my physical therapy clinic. It was probably when I was working at Target. At Target, I was a newcomer there, and I wanted to make sure that I could hang with the best, so to speak. I was doing truck unload, and I wanted to be the one actually inside of the truck and doing truck unload and things like that. And I actually had to talk to my boss and work with him and kind of see what I could do to help with that. We talked. He said that I could do it. And when I went in the truck, and then when I realized when I was throwing the stuff, our system was completely, just utterly nonsense. It was like, I don't understand why we were trying to move boxes out of the truck like that. So I made it a goal to myself to try and optimize this as best as possible because everything in that industry needs to be fast. So I sat down, I talked with my boss, I told him the issues with our system, and he said that he's aware of those things, but he doesn't have any ideas of doing that. So what I did after that is I proposed him a few ideas, and I let that just sit for a bit. because he needed time to think on it. During that time, though, I went and talked to the other teammates that are on the truck load pickup, and I wanted to make sure that everyone could be on the same line or in the same boat to make sure that we can make this as efficient as possible, because if we make it efficient as possible, that also helps us out too. So I made sure to talk to everyone who's on that team, and I wanted to and kind of bringing everyone together. Lo and behold, 2 weeks later, I was talking to our boss when we actually the truck didn't come in that day, and and he said, "Let's rework this. You're in charge. Show us what you mean." And for the next 2 hours, we were rearranging, working on everything, and in the end of it all, everything turned out to be way better. And I felt very proud of myself. I achieved the goal that I wanted to make everything more efficient, but also what it gave me was a leadership position. And especially in that sort of case, and especially being a teacher, I need to be a leader. So I see that as also being able to step up and be someone important in that case. So using just a goal, I have also achieved a spot of leadership as well, and which I think, especially like I said, is very important in this job.
Where do you plan to see yourself in 10 years?
If I can be 100% honest, I would love to be a teacher still. I would love to be a strength and conditioning coach. I would love to be working with students at a high school level. And I don't plan to move on from that. But what I plan to also want to do is also probably be a physical therapist assistant at one point. So right now, being an aide, I want to be able to be an assistant and have patients of my own. And it is not uncommon for a teacher to have a second job, especially somewhere in their field. And it's not uncommon for physical therapists not to work a whole day at their job. I can definitely make it work where I can work a physical therapist job and a teaching job at the same time. And because I love both aspects. I love watching students grow, watching people grow into something that they believe that they should be, that mentality of them growing. But I also love the other side of it. I love the recovery process. I love seeing people grow from recovery, gaining back what they had prior and growing into something and seeing that smile grow. And in both aspects, I love seeing people jump over those obstacles, something that seems like a big wall to them. And then when they finally work through it, they realize that it wasn't, it was hard. It definitely was hard, but they were able to get through it. And that just seeing that joy, seeing that, oh, I benched 135 pounds for the first time, or, oh my gosh, I walked without a cane for the first time, or I went hiking in because I haven't been hiking in the last 3 months. Those pieces of joy are what I enjoy most. And having that is going to be wanting to push me to stay within this job for the next 10 years. I want to be able to continue working for you. I want to be able to continue working on another job. I want to be able to do both at the same time, because since these are both of my dreams and aspirations, I want to be able to work with you and be able to go further in what I'm required.
How would you say you work in a team environment?
I would say I am probably, I probably say that I work extremely well in a team environment. I would say working in a team environment definitely requires a lot of cohabitation at some points, and being able to work with other people. Working with other people requires a lot of give and take, so to speak. Some people you won't be able to see with eye to eye on, and some people are going to be your best friends. With that, I believe that I can be both of those people. Being a very energetic and outgoing person, I like to be able to work with other people and work with them well. I like making compromises with people. I like making things work better, kind of thing. Especially in a teaching environment, I'm gonna have to be able to work with my other teachers, because I can see how this student is doing in this class and seeing what kind of is going on. Teachers can let me know, like, hey, I can let teachers know what's going on with this student. They're not feeling great, yada, 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 kind of things like that. I want to make sure that there's going to be a working together to make sure these students reach another level. Working in a team environment, sending emails, doing computer work and cross-referencing with each other. I've done that plenty of times. And just working just with people in general, just making sure that we're on the same page, we're working together for the same goal. I know that I can do that well. And I know that with the kind of person that I am, I can work with anyone, kind of thing.
That'll conclude the interview.
Awesome. Thank you so much.